Hi, I'm so glad that you decided to join me in this lesson. Remember last lesson we talked about self-esteem, and we discussed it as a model. Every single person needs two legs to stand on. One is lovable and the other is capable. Lovable is to feel loved, valued, and appreciated. Capable is able to do something well. And if a person has two legs to stand on, they're pretty resilient to the ups and downs of life. I think that the greatest gift you can give a child is to have good self-esteem. Because if they have self-trust and self-worth, then their choices are going to be better. And they're going to be stronger in their choices. My daughter Kathleen and I were sitting on the wall over at Catalina. We'd been swimming and we were just drying off. And I was talking to her and I was saying, I wish I'd done my parenting better. I wish I had known what I know now. And I could have done my parenting better. And I was kind of going on about it as I can do. And all of a sudden she said, Mom, I don't know why you keep talking about this. Because I like the way I turned out. So what's the problem? Scott always gives me a long stem red rose on his birthday. And my favorite card that he's ever given me said, "Dear Mom, I am who I am because of you. And I like who I am. I love you dearly, Scott." So those two gifts to my children, that they like themselves, are the most incredible gifts I think that you could give, that I could give. A sense of self-trust, a sense of self-worth, self-esteem. Today we're going to begin a series. I'm going to do 3 lessons that are revolved around the topic of anger. It's really important that we understand anger better, that we manage it better, that we work with our children better with their anger. If we don't do something about this, if we don't create less angry children, then the bottom line is we're not going to have a world within which we can live. It won't be safe. I mean, it's fundamentally, it's simple math. Simple math. We've got to change what's going on. So in order to do that, my job is to help you understand anger better, yours and your child's. And we need to start with you. There's some things that will help you to understand anger. The first thing is, it's okay to be angry. Were you raised that way? I wasn't. My mother, who is 92 years old, her generation were the take no prisoners generation. It was, yes, sir, no, sir, don't talk back, sir. And you didn't even frown at them, when they were mad at you. Because if you did, there would be an imprint in the wall where your body had just sailed through the wall. I mean, to say they were strict would be the understatement of the year. And so the idea that it was okay to be angry didn't exist. And the danger in this is if you stuff your anger, then you don't feel it. But then when you feel it, it's like a time bomb. And of course, we're seeing that in our society. So it's imperative that you create an atmosphere with your home where it's okay to be angry. And I'm going to help you build that in the next 3 lessons. Something that really helped me with my anger, because anybody who's passionate has a temper. I have a temper. Really helped me to understand this. Anger is the second feeling you feel. When somebody told me this, I said, no, I'm just angry. Well, if you're just angry, then it's a train that comes rolling in, grabs you, beats the snot out of you, and throws you back on the track. You have no way of dissecting it, of working with it. Anger is the second feeling. You're outside playing, and your child is out playing by the street, and all of a sudden you hear, "Arr!" and you run out. Now, the car doesn't hit your child, but you run out, and you're shaking the child's head off their shoulders. I told you 1,000 times not to run in the street. Well, it sounds pretty angry to me. But if that wasn't the first feeling, what was the first feeling? Disappointment? Fear? Fear would be the first one. Frustration. I've told you 1,000 times. There's another feeling in there, and what it does is it makes it possible for you to dissect and work with the feeling. You're all dressed up. You're ready to go. You're dolled up, you being a woman. And Your husband calls. He's on the freeway. There's been a huge accident. He has the tickets to the play. You're not going. So you're cleaning the kitchen. That's what I do when I get mad, is clean anything, cleaning the kitchen. Well, you look like you're angry. What are you? Frustrated, disappointed. You're upset because of another feeling other than anger. Your ability to dissect anger and work with it is dependent upon understanding it. Anger is not the first feeling you feel. It's the second feeling. No one makes you angry. I didn't like this one either. Because I was taught to be a victim to my entire life. I mean, if you own that nobody makes you angry, then you have to understand it's a choice and accept that. But nobody makes you angry. You're driving down the road one day, somebody cuts you off, and you say, "Hey, good morning, careful, peace and love." You're driving down the road the next morning, somebody cuts you off, and you're following them with a verbal shotgun or machine gun. Same thing. Who changed? You did. Nobody makes you angry. It's a choice. I'm pushing my 68th birthday as I sit here, and what I can tell you is I don't get angry nearly as much about nearly as many things as I used to because I understand them. And so understanding them allows me to be responsive, not reactive, not to react to things, to respond to things, okay? So it's really important that you consider this, and you never say to your children, "You made me so angry." First of all, it gives a child more power than you have. All I have to do is do this and you go psycho? That's a lot of power for a kid. The other thing is, it's a lie. They didn't make you angry. You chose to be angry. If you say, "I feel really upset" or "I feel really angry," then you're telling the truth. You don't have to run around and go, "Oh, I'm never angry." I feel really angry, but it's not putting them in the responsibility place. Nobody makes you angry. Mistakes are the way we learn. If I could do my life over, I could do almost every piece of it better. I'm not sure I would if I had a magic wand. I'm not sure I would, because I like the byproduct. And some of the roads were pretty tough, and they taught me what I need to know. But what I had to learn was that mistakes are the course. If you make a mistake, and even if you do it over and over and over again, life will keep giving you a chance to do it another way. And at some point, you just say, this isn't who I am. This is how I'm going to live my life. This isn't how it's going to be. And you learn from the mistakes. You need to create an atmosphere for your children, though, where it's safe to make mistakes. And if when the child does something, you get psycho angry, then you say, no, you can't make mistakes because I'm going to be so scary. In fact, I might harm you if you do it. Another factor is that you teach most by what you model. Are mistakes okay with you? When you drop a glass of milk in the kitchen, do you go psycho and swear and have a big fit? Well, the children who don't know how to be adults are watching you, and they're going to say, "Well, that's right. When I make a mistake, I go psycho and swear and whatever." You're teaching most by what you model. But you're also teaching an attitude. You have to model anger is okay. You have to model that anger is something that you can control. One of the things you want to be careful if you're a perfectionist, if you're modeling that, because you see, if you're a perfectionist, the message you give everybody around you, never mind your children, is that nothing they ever do is good enough. Can't possibly meet any of your standards. They can't possibly do what you want them to do. Okay? And you have that standard for yourself. That part isn't healthy either, but it's really not healthy for your children. And sooner or later, one of the children will pick up the trait. So then you'll have a child who never can fail, never can do well enough. I won't take compliments because it wasn't quite good enough, and all of those destructive patterns. Perfectionist is this. back to my model from self-esteem. If you have two legs to stand on and they're even, then you feel both lovable and capable. A perfectionist is somebody who is overdoing the capable leg, right? So which leg's up? The lovable leg. So if you have a child who is a perfectionist, what you need to do is start strengthening this leg. Help them to value who they are. Not what they do, who they are. What are their gifts? And then that person can put the other leg down. If you're a perfectionist, then it's your lovable leg that you need strengthening. And you need to find people who can help you with that. Kathleen came in one day. She was in 4th grade. And she threw this piece of paper on my desk. And I looked down and I saw that it had a D on it, school paper. And she said, "You're supposed to sign this." And I looked at the paper and I said, "What'd you learn?" And she said, "Well, if I'd learned something, I wouldn't have gotten a D." I looked at her and I said, "What'd you learn, Kathleen?" And she said, "Mom, that's a D as in dog. That's not a B as in boy. That's a D on that paper." I looked at her and I said, "What'd you learn, Kathleen?" And she said, "Well, I learned that I can't do this class by the seat of my pants. I might have to open the book, and I'd probably be a good idea if I studied for the test next time." I leaned down and signed the paper. She said, "Aren't you going to punish me?" And I looked at her and I said, "Why would I, when you learn so much?" We need to honor the fact that the lesson learned is the lesson learned. It doesn't need to be, kid doesn't need to be clobbered on top of it. She learned what she needed to know in order to not repeat the pattern. She knew what she did. I'm done. I don't have to go and hammer her on top of that. Anger that is not dealt with turns to resentment. Resentment that's not dealt with turns to revenge. The anger, resentment, revenge cycle is the dangerous cycle that's alive in our society. It starts little and then builds like a hurricane, tornado, cyclone, and then it goes and gobbles up lives. Anger, resentment, revenge cycle needs to have, you need to teach children to diffuse their anger. Best way to diffuse anger is to run. The best thing you can do with a child who is explosive is to take them outside and run down the street. That doesn't usually work too well with particularly a stubborn child or a defiant child or a very powerful child. So you need to have other techniques as well. Some of the things that we did was to appropriately, and that was really important, hit something. We had the big black bag, the punching bag, and it hung out in the garage between the two cars, right at the front of the cars. Well, I got out of my car one day, and I was mad about something, so I took a whack at the black bag. You know, I went and hit the black bag. Well, they're very dense. So it was like, oh, I hurt my arm. Well, now I'm mad because I hurt my arm. I'm angrier than I was before. So I went in and found a little kid bat, the little blue plastic bat. That bat lived under that black bag for, I don't even know, 18 years, long time. And the thing was, you could beat the snot out of the bag. You didn't hurt the bag. You didn't hurt the person. You didn't hurt anything, which is optimal to this training. And you could get the anger out of your system. I just watched the kids come in, you know, after school. And I'd say, "Okay, Scott, outside. 10 hits on the black bag." And he'd go, "I'm fine." I'd say, "Argue with me again, it's 15. So he'd go grumbling through the house, right? Like this. And then he'd be out there. And, of course, the first 5 hits are stupid woman, right? Stupid woman. Stupid woman. Like this. But then he'd hit whatever I saw. And he'd just be clobbering the black bag. If I didn't invite Scott to diffuse his anger, he was just a fight looking for a place to land. It was just a matter of time before there was a fight. I couldn't predict when or with whom, but I could pretty much guarantee that he would blow up somewhere in the afternoon. The children learn to use the black bag as a way of diffusing anger, to run, to hit. Beanbags, throwing beanbags for little kids into a box. And that's the only thing it's used for, is to diffuse anger. Jumping jacks are really great because you can do them right in place. And they help to diffuse the anger. Those balls where you can squish them, you exercise balls, you can squish them. The problem with those is they're really in your hand. If you can do something that involves more of the body, it's better. And if you had these in the car, then you can pass them to a child who's melting down and say, okay, squish it, okay, squish it, okay, squish it, okay, squish it. And what you do is you begin to diffuse or let some of the anger out of the body. If you bicker and fight with each other as parents, you are modeling for your children that that is a way to live, to solve problems. Another thing to think about here is that you're showing your children that you have a hole in your armor. Because the minute you start bickering between each other, what they say to themselves, the children, what they say to themselves is, oh, we can get them because they're divided. Old military strategy, divide and conquer. So if you're divided and you're showing it because you're having to fight, and it doesn't have to be about them. If you're just off of each other and say, hey, we can get them because they're not together. It is so important that you get together on the same page, that you talk about these videos, you watch them together, and you talk about my discipline system, which works, and you use it in your home, and you both use it, because then you create safety and balance for your children. But the main thing is you're not saying one thing and modeling the other, because that doesn't work. They're too smart for that. If you're not on the same page and you're inconsistent, then again, it's a chink in your armor. The kids see it. The thing with overkill is that children know you don't have power. It's kind of like, wow, they're blowing up, and it's too much. You don't have to harm your children in order to get them to mind. You don't have to harm their spirits. You don't have to hurt their feelings all the time in order to get them to mind. If you would just use this discipline system, if you will just use this philosophy, what you're going to do is you're going to find you're so civilized. You're going to find that you're more civilized than you ever thought you could be. When we go into the homes who are using these techniques, that's the word I would say. This is so civilized, because there are grown-ups talking to children. They're not yelling, they're not screaming, they don't need to. And the chaos goes out of the home. Let's talk about fighting. Children fight, one, to solve problems. Sometimes because they see you fighting and that's how you solve problems, or at least create them. All right? And they see it on the playground and other places. If they're fighting in the other room, do not run into the room and say, who started this? Because then you're going to be right in the middle of a lying contest. Okay? I mean, angry mom comes in, who started this? What kind of fool's going to go, yeah, I was the one, no, it was me. No, they're going to say, he did, she did, what, they're going to deny it. And so you need to have a rule. When you play together nicely, you get to stay together. When you don't, you don't. So you walk in the room and they're, and you just say, well, we have a rule in our home that when you play together nicely, you stay together. Obviously, you're breaking that rule. So you take your toys and you go in that room, you take your toys and you go in that room, and turn the timer for a half an hour. Not 3 hours, not a whole day, overkill, for half an hour. In the end of a half an hour, they can get back together again. If they're still, divide them up for an hour. The oldest military strategy on the planet is divide and conquer. Divide them and conquer them. Just think, you're going to have a whole half an hour. No problems, because they're in 2 separate rooms, or 3 separate rooms, or 4 separate rooms, depending on how many children you have. But then the more important thing is they know there's a rule. The rule is Learn to talk and work this out. Or you guys are going to be all split up. Now, in your mind, you think, well, they'll like being split up. No, they don't. They've done studies after studies. They don't like to be split up. They might have one child who prefers it. But bottom line, they really like to be together. And they need some help on learning how to negotiate, how to work out problems, how to work together. So the simple rule, play together nicely, stay together. You don't, you don't. Will end some of the fighting. If you have older children who are able to write, and they come to you and they're both upset and complaining, that kind of thing, give them each a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, send them to 2 separate places, have them write down what happened. When their stories match, they're done. I'm going to leave room for you to laugh, because you get this, you'll start laughing. Okay? They hate this. They hate doing it because, first of all, they're going to blame each other. And so you take the 2 papers and you say, nope, don't match. And they go, well, wait a minute, I don't know what to write. What do I write? Well, I don't know what to write. I said, I wasn't there. You were there. The stories need to match. So they need to say, I tripped him and he hit me, and the same story. Wasn't listening to what I just said, so I can't repeat it. But the point is that they both say, not word for word, but the concept is the same, right? So, and you'll hear them in the other room. No, don't go to her. We'll have to write those stupid papers, which invites them again to work out their problems. And in one of the lessons down the way, we're going to have how to do that. We've got to teach them how to talk. Your homework for between now and the next lesson is to look for ways that you can help your children diffuse the anger in their home. I really recommend the black bag. I should sell them because you're going to run out and buy them. But really, that was the best thing that we did, and we did probably 20 different things. But have a place where your children can take energy and distribute it in an appropriate way. It will help them to be healthier, because bottled up anger isn't a healthy way to live. It will help them to solve problems better. It will help them to keep you off their back. You won't get so angry with them. It will help them to learn that anger really is a feeling that's a friend, because it tells you something you need to know. You just don't want it to control you and to harm your life. And pay attention to your anger. You might need to work on it as well. I'll see you next time.